Hello and welcome to our module on persistent identifiers, PIDs in short. My name is Max Heber and I'm a member of the University of Konstanz Open Science team. This module was created in collaboration with my colleague Gabriel Schneider. In this module you will find out about what a PID is and what they are for. Afterwards I will introduce 3 example PIDs, Digital Object Identifiers, DOI in short, the Open Researcher and Contributor ID, or Orchid, and the Research Organization Registry, also known as ERUA. You will learn what they are for and what their advantages are. At the end of this module you will get some tips on how to use them for your own research. First things first, what is a PID? In general, a PID is a permanent and unique identification number for all different kinds of entities. These could be a journal publication, a book or a dataset, but also real people or real institutions. Most PIDs will look similar to web links as you know them, and when you click on them, they will point you to a resource that describes the entity it identifies, such as a landing page with metadata on a journal article. In the background, mechanisms are in place that keep this link up to date. You may ask yourself why PIDs even exist when you could just use a regular web link, but here the difference becomes relevant. PIDs are used to keep the entities they describe findable. If you use a regular URL, it will stop functioning when you change the location of the resource it points to. This happens often. I'm sure you've encountered 404 errors on the web yourself. Another benefit of PIDs is that they are unique. With regular URLs, multiple ones might point to the same resource. With a PID, you just need one. This increases transparency and avoids ambiguity. For those reasons, PIDs have become a standard in scientific publishing. PIDs for people aim to solve different problems. Due to third-party funded projects or other temporary positions, academic staff tends to change jobs, and it can be challenging to keep track of which positions people work in throughout their career. Other challenges arise when you search for a person, but find multiple ones with the same name. Who is the one I'm looking for? Further challenges are name challenges, such as when people marry or the spelling of names, especially when someone has a middle name or a toponymic name. All of those challenges can be met when a person has a permanent and unique identifier. Local identity management systems of institutions often only focus on active members of the institution. A PID is aimed at long-term functionality. To make things clearer, we will now talk about 3 different PIDs in science that serve different purposes. We'll have a look at the DOI, Orchid, and ROR. The Digital Object Identifier is an international ISO standard for identification of entities, which can be digital, physical, or even abstract. Currently, there are approximately 275 million registered DOIs, and it is one of the most used PIDs in science, mainly for text publications, datasets, or software. Entities need to be described with at least 5 metadata attributes to ensure citability. The attributes are information on the creator, a title, a publisher, a publication year, and a resource type that describes what kind of entity it is. All this information is stored together with a link to the current location of the description of the entity that in turn can include a way to access the entity, for example a link to a PDF file. If the location changes, the institution responsible for maintaining the DOI updates this information to keep the identifier usable over a long period of time. A DOI follows a defined structure which you can see here. The first part is the resolver that sends you to the location of the entity. The second part is the prefix. Every institution that provides DOIs has its own prefix, which are managed by a DOI registration agency. The last part is the suffix. This is defined by every institution individually. Another common PID is the Open Researcher and Contributor ID, Orchid. In comparison to DOIs, ORCIDs are only assigned to people. Every researcher, scientist, or person related to science can register an ORCID to record their affiliations, publications, qualifications, memberships, and more, while also keeping control over their information. For every record in an ORCID profile, the user can decide who can see the information and what they can do with it. Using ORCID comes with multiple benefits, such as solving problems around ambiguity in case of people with the same name. If multiple people with the same name have their own ORCIDs, you can easily identify who is who. Registering an Orchid is not bound to a single affiliation. If you register it now and change the institution in the future, you will still keep your ID. Other people searching for you will now have a much easier time finding you. With Orchid, you can easily create a list of publications and keep it up to date. The DOI import feature enables you to just copy the DOI of your publication into your profile, and the metadata describing the publication will automatically be added to your profile. Alternatively, you can use your profile to make publishing or working on grants easier and faster. If the journal or repository of your choice has implemented Orchid features into their service, you do not have to provide key information manually, as it will be imported from your Orchid page. This will save you time. Orchid follows an open philosophy. It is based on open source components and free of charge. By using it, you are not dependent on commercial providers in the future. The Research Organization Registry offers PIDs not for data or people but for research institutions. In many cases there are multiple versions of an institutional name. If you take the University of Konstanz, for example, you could call it by its German true name, Universität Konstanz, its German abbreviation, Uni Konstanz, or different English names such as University of Konstanz. This makes it hard, especially for machines, to recognize it, as the same institution in each of these cases. If you provide the ROR ID of an institution during publication instead, it is clear which institution you are affiliated with. Users clicking on the ID will be directed to a page from ROR with human and machine-readable information on the organization. Using ROR gives you advantages by providing standardized affiliation information. It saves time and prevents errors, as you won't need to type in the institution name manually, but only provide the ID. You will help your institution by doing this, as it makes it easier for them to track the research output of their affiliated members, for example for reporting purposes. I found out about different PIDs. And to conclude this module, we want to give you some hints on how to incorporate your new knowledge into your everyday life in science. Try to obtain PIDs such as a DOI for your publications regardless of if you publish an article in a journal, a book or a dataset. Most journals and repositories will do this for you in the course of the submission process. If you haven't already, you can register at Orchid to create your own profiles. This only takes a couple of minutes and is free of charge. Afterwards, you can enter as much information into your record as you like and decide which information is publicly visible and which is not. To make this process easier, you can import your publications by using their DOIs. When you submit your next publication, use your Orchid if possible. Many journals and repositories offer those features to decrease the need for you to type in everything manually. If your repository or journal also offers the possibility of providing an ROR ID, you should also use it to provide information about your institution. This way you will make it easier for the institution to track the research output of their affiliates for controlling purposes. Here you can see the sources used for this module. You can have a look at them for more detail. And here is the list of figures used in this presentation. Thank you very much for completing this module.